morning, metalheads of the internet, and before we talk about this exciting new album from Wayfarer, I'd like to ask you a question. What do you think is the perfect metal album for Halloween? 'Tis a simple question, and you can leave the answer to that question in either the comment section of this video or in the community tab of this channel. Either one, whichever works for you. But either way, I will be taking all of the answers you give me and using them for a very special Halloween episode, so choose wisely. Alright, we got that out of the way. Now let's talk about A Romance with Violence from Wayfarer. I'm not really sure how to properly introduce this band and what they're all about, so I'm just going to read a statement directly from Wayfarer. Wayfarer is black metal of the American West, a cavalcade of fury, melancholia, and dust-laden storytelling. The band is informed by the fierce and adventurous spectrums of heavy music, along with the stark Americana of the Denver sound artists that carved the identity of their home. In A Romance with Violence, their most fully realized effort to date, Wayfarer presents a searing silver scream requiem for the myth of the West. To put it very simply, ladies and gentlemen, there are no Satanists or Vikings or snowy mountaintops to be found on this particular slice of black metal pie. Instead, you have the dirt, the grit, the blood, and the sweat of the wild, wild West, complete with tales of revenge, redemption, gunslingers, and the birth of modern civilization and industrialization. Basically Red Dead Redemption, but as a black metal album. Now, I'm certain that this information is more than enough to infuriate the most diehard and conservative black metal fanboy. But not me, ladies and gentlemen, and I say that not because I am, by my own admission, a bit of a slut for anything semi-different and experimental within the realm of modern black metal, but because the fusion itself actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, regardless of which form of media we're looking at, be it a film, be it a book, be it a fucking video game like the aforementioned Red Dead Redemption, all media about the Wild West, or the Western genre, more simply put, boils down to a very simple formula, exposing raw and authentic humanity in the face of uncompromising and unforgivable situations, with a lead character usually battling the elements, battling time, battling gunslingers, running away from the inevitable. That inevitable usually being a figure being forced to face the consequences of their actions, the birth of society and the Industrial Revolution, or, quite simply, death. From a purely conceptual standpoint, black metal really isn't that far off, especially not when we start to look at some iconic records from Enslaved or Emperor or Behemoth. To some extent, I think this is even partially why we're seeing so much black metal nowadays influenced by Americana music, namely Panopticon and Nurgle's side project Me and That Man. But this goes far beyond a band of loners playing around with banjos. This is a full fusion of everything that makes the Wild West so harsh and so powerful with everything that makes black metal so harsh and so powerful. It is ambitious, it is cinematic, it is cathartic, it is genuinely exhilarating and blood-pumping in its most violent and brutal moments, with amazing production value and some of the most inventive and savage black metal I've heard all year. Take, for instance, The Crimson Rider, a very unpredictable cut that initially starts on some more minimalistic black metal before throwing in some very progressive twists and turns and some very brooding cinematic steel guitar. It really does feel as if you're following a notorious gunslinger through the desert itself. Particularly about 3/4 in, when steel guitars, acoustic guitars, and some very subtle manic percussion all kind of fall in line together. It feels so tense, as if that aforementioned gunslinger is this close to getting caught. Or, for instance, on the track The Iron Horse, which seems to forebode the birth of the Industrial Revolution and the birth of civilization in the Wild West, with dramatic, ominous, almost doomy drawls of heavy percussion and aggressive rhythm guitar, transitioning quite beautifully into the very emotive and mysterious Fire and Gold. Normally these kinds of interludes would annoy me. Normally I would argue that they detract from the record and they pull you out of the experience, but that's usually because they do, and this doesn't. It actually quite powerfully bridges the gaps between all of these songs, namely Masquerade of the Gunslingers, where it really does feel sonically as if we've been put in the middle of a duel. Church bells ring in the background as if to indicate the fate of these gunslingers. There's even a literal dramatic pause sandwiched in between some very droning, monotonous riffing and a more explosive avalanche of abrasive black metal. In that moment, it's hard not to picture a gunslinger having just drawn his weapon and seeing his life flash before his eyes before he fires. It's genuinely pretty powerful. I don't really think I've ever seen a moment like this translated into music so successfully before. Perhaps excluding, and I'm not exaggerating here, the closing number of Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton. No spoilers, I promise, in case any of you are interested and somehow haven't seen it on Disney Plus yet, but if you've seen the show, you know exactly what part I'm talking about. And you would think a moment like that would be a perfectly fine place to stop the album on, but no, Wayfarer keep going, and in fact, they end up closing out with a song that's even better, even more powerful, even more cathartic, as it's laden with even more emotive steel guitars and progressive twists and turns, to the point where in some parts I'm even reminded of Baroness and some very early Mastodon. The music is just so consistently gripping, but the production value makes this feel like a full-blown Western film. Like you're watching The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and this is simply the soundtrack to it all. It makes for such an immersive and brutal experience, true to the roots of both the Western genre and, again, black metal. Yeah, in case it wasn't already blatantly fucking clear, I'm absolutely in love with this album, and with that thought in mind, fuck it, 4.5 out of 5. I'm simply blown away by this, man. I can't really think of anything else within the spectrum of black metal that is quite on this level, that is quite as original and as powerful as this. You can practically feel the dirt and the dust getting kicked up in your face. You can practically feel the blood splatter. It's raucous, it's punishing, it's exhilarating, and so consistently entertaining as well. Like, I dare you not to fucking headbang like a motherfucker with some of those drum grooves, and I fucking dare you not to get hyped as fuck when some of that steel guitar kicks in. Honestly, this is one of the few occasions where I wish the album was longer, like, a lot longer. Like, shit, it's already cinematic as fuck. Turn it into a motion picture. Why not? Fuck it. We're already here, and I'm having a fucking blast, so let's keep this Wild West black metal train a-rolling. This is one of my favorite albums of the year. You can definitely expect to see this in my top 10 at the end of the year. A truly incredible, one-of-a-kind experience here, folks. Hell, I'm damn near close to a 5 out of 5, and had I shed a tear at some point on this album, it may very well have gotten a 5 out of 5. But hey, I don't think anyone's going to argue with a 4.5 out of 5, and if Wayfarer continue upon the path they have paved so far, I think the next album will genuinely be a masterpiece. Romance with Violence, an incredible record. Fucking check it out, man. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Fucking check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right there so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, and you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.